So I recently just made a video about the Brooks Ghost Max 2, and in it I said that it kind of seemed what I wanted the Glycerin to be, and it'd be nice if they made a Glycerin Max. Well, shortly after, look what we have here, the new Brooks Glycerin Max. It features a higher stack, lower drop, and a new midsole foam. I've done a few runs in it, and I'm ready to give you my first impressions, do a few comparisons. Just a quick disclaimer though that Brooks did send me these shoes for review, but all my thoughts and opinions are my own. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the specs. So the stack height is 45.25 in the heel and 39.25 in the forefoot with a 6mm heel-to-toe drop. The weight for a men's size 9 is 10.5 ounces. The price is $200. And I put this in the premium max cushion trainer category, and some people might even call it a super trainer. Let's go ahead and get an overview of the shoe. So the upper uses triple layer engineered mesh to provide comfort and breathability. It's a nice amount of padding around the ankle and the tongue. The midsole uses the new DNA tuned foam, which is a dual density supercritical nitrogen infused foam that provides softer landings and more responsive toe offs. It also uses the glide roll rocker geometry. The outsole has rubber coverage in the forefoot and strips in the heel. Moving on to the fit of the shoe, I got my usual men's size 12, and I thought that the fit was great. I had that thumbs width at the end of my toes. The straight last was roomy, but it wasn't too roomy where I was sliding around or anything. I had a good lockdown, no rubbing, slipping, any issues there. Now let's talk about the ride and my first impressions of the shoe. So I was really anxious to try out this new DNA tuned foam, and it's kind of interesting foam. It's dual density and dual injection, I guess, where we have this whiter foam that is less dense, so it has bigger air bubbles or honeycombs or however you want to think about it. And then we have this yellow foam that you can see really clearly in the forefoot, and that's going to have smaller air bubbles or honeycombs, and that's going to make it a little bit denser. So the idea behind this is that you're going to have kind of a softer, more protective landing in the heel, and then a little more responsive and propulsive toe off with that denser foam in the forefoot. And I think that this is true. I found when I was doing my run, the heel to toe transition felt really smooth. You didn't even really notice the difference in densities, though when you are pushing it off in the forefoot, it does feel a little more energetic. I think that yellow foam in combination with these kind of strips on the outsole here make these kind of act like pods where they can kind of independently push in and then bounce back, and it gives it a nice little pop off the toe that I wasn't quite expecting necessarily. So I did try the shoe on a few different run types. I thought that it was nice and protective and cushioned when I was doing some easy runs and longer runs, and I did some strides in it as well, and that forefoot again does feel nice and energetic and responsive. I think that one issue could be the weight with the shoe getting in the way of the versatility. I think it's not great for like pure speed workouts. I'd personally reach for another shoe if I'm doing some serious speed work, but other than that, I think it's great for most run types. That being said though, I think that this foam and probably this shoe are my favorite from Brooks so far. I thought it was firm enough where you could get that nice responsiveness from it, but it wasn't too soft where it felt unstable or anything. I think the tuned DNA does feel nice and tuned and kind of give you best of both worlds here. Alright, now let's go ahead and do a few quick comparisons. First shoe I'm going to compare it to is the Ghost Max 2. So these are both high cushion trainers in the Max line, so they both have that lower heel to toe drop at 6mm. They have that rocker geometry, but I think the big difference here is definitely the foam. Like I mentioned when I made my video about the Ghost Max 2, I thought that the foam felt very balanced. You're not sinking into the foam where it's too squishy, but it's also not too firm where you aren't able to compress it much. It was just kind of a nice cruising shoe. With the DNA tuned, I think it takes this to another level. It's more cushioned and more energetic and more lively than the DNA Loft V3 in the Ghost Max 2. But personally, I really enjoyed the Ghost Max 2 for kind of easy, slow days, but I didn't think it was necessarily the most versatile. I think that the Glycerin Max is definitely more versatile. It has more cushion, more protective, but it also feels softer yet more responsive at the same time. I think it's going to kind of come down to a preference of what type of of shoe you want, how much you want to spend, how much stack you're looking at. This one definitely has more cushion than this one, but I definitely like the Glycerin Max more than the Ghost Max 2 for my type of running and my preferences. Next up is the regular Glycerin, the Glycerin 21 from Brooks, and these shoes look very different. So this is the more traditional Glycerin that they've been, had for 20 years. It has that 10mm heel to toe drop. It uses the DNA Loft V3 foam, and I prefer that, more modern rocker geometry and a little extra cushion in the forefoot. While the Glycerin 21 isn't a bad shoe. Me personally, I like more cushion, more rocker, and that's why I like how they brought the Glycerin into kind of a modern age with the Glycerin Max, where we're getting that fun foam, that fun rocker, that high stack height, and it's just a really fun shoe to run in. So if you're a traditionalist, the Glycerin's great. They haven't changed it too much, but the Glycerin Max is a welcomed addition for kind of a modern take on the shoe, in my opinion. I would like to see this DNA tuned foam come to the regular Glycerin though, or just kind of more shoes in Brooks lineup in general, because I am really liking this foam. And finally, a lot of people are asking how the Glycerin Max compares to the Superblast 2 from Asics. Both these shoes have over 45mm stack. They both use kind of two different density foams to them, and they both cost $200. I do think they're both very versatile shoes too, but the biggest thing to me that makes the Superblast more versatile is it's going to have a real super foam that's super light and super bouncy, and this makes it 2 ounces lighter than the Glycerin Max. I think it makes it more versatile where you can pick up this pace easier and do more speed-oriented work in this. But I do think the DNA tuned in the Glycerin Max does make it a little better for kind of longer, easier runs. So there's definitely a lot of overlap versatility, but maybe kind of slower days, this one is a smidge better, while faster days, the Superblast is a little bit better. But honestly, both are very fun, very comfortable, very cushion protective shoes. But the weight on the Superblast 2 is hard to beat if you're looking for going on trip, packing one shoe where you can do speed work in and long runs and kind of everything at once. This is great do it all. This one, I think it could do it if you're in a pinch, if you're okay with that heavier weight. But honestly, that weight is going to be the difference between these two shoes, in my opinion. So I've been enjoying Brooks' Max lineup lately, and I'm glad that they're keep expanding it, and they added the Glycerin Max to the lineup. Though $200 is a little bit steep, I think that it could be worth it if you're looking for one shoe that is very protective, very comfortable, very versatile, and just gives you that nice premium feel. The DNA tuned, like I've mentioned multiple times through this video, I've been really enjoying it. I think that it works really well. It's kind of something that I've wanted from the Ghost Max 2, a little more energetic, a little more bounce to it. So I'm glad that we get that here with the Glycerin Max. I want to hear your thoughts though. Are you going to be picking one up? Is this a shoe that's going to work for you? Do you wish it was a little lighter? Let me know in the comments down below. I have more miles to put on the shoe before I give you my full review. Subscribe so you don't miss that. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep on running.